Hey all you tricksters, welcome back to the channel for another great eShop deals video. You should know the routine by now. I've got 10 picks for you and a whole sizzle reel full of more deals right after the 10 picks. So let's jump right into these deals. First of all, Red Wings American Aces for 75% off for a new lowest price of $2.95. This is a sort of basic dogfighting World War II game. I actually got a chance to try this out months ago when it first released. I did enjoy it, but I felt it was overpriced, so I didn't really feature it on the channel. But now that it's hit this new lowest price, I think it's definitely worthy of picking up. The general core gameplay loop is very standard, but it is very enjoyable. The dogfighting feels very smooth, has a very pleasant cel-shaded graphic style, and I really did appreciate the unlocks. There's all kinds of skill tree unlocks, so it gives plenty of reason to go back and replay levels so you can grind and ultimately power up your plane to astronomical proportions. Again, for the price, this is a very solid choice. Next, we have Royal Frontier. Royal Frontier is a game I actually did check out on this channel a few months back. I'll make sure to link to that video so you can check it out if you want to get a deeper dive. But this is a game where they've basically combined roguelike, board game, and Super Mario RPG, or kind of like Paper Mario. It is a run-based game like a roguelike, and it all takes place on a board where you're going to be choosing a path, and then again, all the combat plays out like Super Mario RPG or Paper Mario, which really is the selling point of this game. Personally, for me, the Mario RPG Paper Mario style combat is my favorite style of RPG combat, and this game does get that down really well. So you're going to choose a troop of 3 characters that are going to help lead this convoy, and as you play the game more and more, you're going to unlock new characters, new perks, all that kind of stuff. So if you've been looking for something to scratch that Super Mario RPG or Paper Mario fix, this is a really great cheap way to get that. Not an insanely cheap deal price, but I think even for $4.89, I think it's a really good bargain. I enjoyed it at full price. Beastbreaker is currently 40% off for $9. For me personally, I think this is one of the biggest sleeper hits of 2021, or maybe not even a sleeper hit because I don't know if it sold that well. But this is a very unique game where you are going to be adventuring as this mouse taking on these giant beasts. Now the gameplay plays out where you choose a different weapon set, and the combat is basically where you send your character off almost like a pinball, and she'll be bopping around hitting these different giant beasts in different locations to try to bring down their hit points to ultimately make it to the core of each beast, which is what really needs to be destroyed to ultimately kill the beast. I've said before, I'm a really big fan of pinball hybrid style games. I wouldn't really call this a pinball game per se, but it definitely hits some of those same kind of beats with the ability to be banking shots all over the place and trying to plan where your character is going to end up. But if you're looking for a really unique strategy, puzzle, adventure game, I think this one has a lot of charm and it's super underrated. Sir Lovelot is currently 50% off for $4.99. This is another game that I have checked out before, so I'll make sure there's a link somewhere if you want to have a little bit of a deeper dive. But this is a pretty straightforward platformer, kind of feels like Super Meat Boy Light. Definitely a lot easier than something like Super Meat Boy, but the game basically plays out in these sort of self-contained platforming levels. You play as this little knight who's trying to make his way to the princess at the end of every level and climb her hair Rapunzel style. But why I like this game so much is just the core gameplay. The platforming feels real crisp, real nice. He's got a basic attack ability where he can shoot some sort of energy blast thing, never really explain what it is. But it's all real simple, straightforward. There's little hidden collectibles to find, and it all just feels really good to play. I just think this is a really nice little hidden gem platformer that you should check out. Again, 50% off, $4.99, a really solid price. Panzer Paladin is currently 50% off for $9.99. There's a good chance you've already heard of this game. This is probably one of the absolute best 8-bit style throwback games on the entire eShop. The premise is simple. You play as this chick and her giant mech that she drives around in, and everything is melee based, so you're picking up all kinds of unique swords and other types of melee weapons, taking on all kinds of various baddies. So you get this really cool dual gameplay where some of it you can be inside the mech and you've got all this kind of power, and then there are also sections where you'll play as the girl and she's got a sort of a grappling hook swinging ability. And then there's an extra layer on top of all that where the weapons can actually be broken, essentially to cast some sort of spell. This could be a healing spell or a spell that wipes out all the enemies on screen. Again, it's an 8-bit style throwback, but it's got so much more depth than anything I ever played back on the NES days. And I really, really think that if you don't add this to your collection and you are an NES fan, you're out of your mind. Tales of Iron is currently 50% off for $12.49. I've said before on this channel, if you've been following me for a while, this was my favorite game of 2021. This is a side-scrolling Souls-like, and it's all taking place in this super charming world about rats who are taking on this invading frog horde. But the whole game is narrated by the same voice actor who played Geralt in the Witcher games. So it really has a surprisingly epic feel for a game that's about rats taking on toads. The game is pretty difficult as a Souls-like, but since the last time I recommended, I believe they actually have added a easier mode for people who just want to enjoy the story and get through it a little bit more simply. For those who are willing to invest, it has a really nice combat system, feels very rewarding to take down some of these big, awful bosses and big groups of enemies. Conan Chop Chop is currently 30% off for $13.99. This is a roguelike beat 'em up all in a cartoony Conan world, which is pretty funny if you know anything about Conan because it's anything but cartoony in its theme. But this is a really fun little brawler. Again, it's a roguelike, so there's all kinds of upgrades. But where this game really shines is if you can get some friends to sit on the couch with you and play up to 4-player co-op. That's really where the game comes alive. I personally still find it enjoyable single player, but I know I've heard some people review it and say they didn't think it was all that great single player. So, you know, your mileage might vary depending on how you feel about it that way. For me personally, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was worth it at full price, so this just sweetens the deal. Streets of Rage 4 is currently 50% off for $12.49. I'm going to be honest with you, I did not grow up a Streets of Rage fan, so when I was initially checking out this game, I didn't know what to expect, and I can tell you this is absolutely by far one of the top tier beat 'em ups on the Switch. The combat feels so crunchy, and the special moves are so epic and awesome for every character. That's really where this game shines, is that I enjoy playing with every character. I want to do a playthrough with every one of them, because they all play so differently, yet they're all super satisfying. So if for some crazy reason you're a beat 'em ups fan, you still haven't picked up Streets of Rage 4, what a phenomenal deal to finally pick it up on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is currently 20% off for $19.99. This is the lowest price ever so far, and believe me, the hype is real for this game. This is one of the few times where I got so hyped for a game, and so much of it was fueled by nostalgia, but I didn't get let down, which was so shocking. Everything about this game perfectly marries the old school style TMNT games, but with a newer, better beat 'em up mechanics of more modern beat 'em ups. So it's that perfect splitting of the difference where it still allows for casual play to just jump in and smash the buttons and have some fun. But for those who want to have a bit of a deeper experience, there are ways to really strategize and learn how each character plays. The game is super bright, colorful, and cheerful, and I just love getting back into that old 1980s TMNT world. Lastly, Young Souls is currently 30% off for its lowest price ever at $17.49. This is another beat 'em up that came out to the Switch this year, and this one has been criminally overlooked. This is a game where you play as twins who have been adopted by a scientist uncle. And this scientist has ultimately discovered a world inside the Earth inhabited by goblins and orcs and all other kinds of creatures. But there's a rogue faction of these trolls who want to make their way out of Hollow Earth and take over the surface. And they've captured your uncle, and now it's your job to go down there and sort it all out. But where this game really shines is its RPG elements. Yeah, it's a beat 'em up through and through, but you get to collect weapons and loot and gear. You're going to be leveling up your character. It's so much deeper than a traditional beat 'em up. And the combat is exquisite. If I were to make a list of hidden gems for 2022 for the Switch, this one would be really high on the list. Yes, 30% off isn't a massive discount, but I think this game is absolutely worth every penny at full price. It's a big, long, meaty beat 'em up. All right, I hope you enjoyed my 10 picks, but let's jump into the sizzle reel and see what else you can pick up this weekend on the eShop.
I'm so in love with you. Leaning up. I'm so in love with you. Love is dead. I'm so in love with you. I'm so in love with you.
All right, all you tricksters, thanks for joining me. I hope you found something you want to pick up. Let me know down in the comments below what interested you. Make sure you subscribe, and until next time, I hope you have great gaming. Bye-bye.
Running back to my own